Hi everyone, Peter here from Flow High Performance, and in this video we'll be covering the topic of tapering and peaking for athletic performance and how to reach peak performance when it counts. First, we need to understand what we mean by peaking. Essentially, peaking is performing at our best in a given sport at an important time. This time that we need to peak for is usually an important competition or competitive match. In an ideal world, we'll be able to perform at our peak every day and linearly progress in performance over time. However, human physiology doesn't always work the way we want it to, and we can't always be at peak performance. The reason for this is because in order to progress in training, we need to apply an overloading stimulus consistently over time to force adaptation. And this makes sense. If we do the same training over time, we will remain the same. We need to challenge ourselves more and more gradually over time in order to improve. Overloading training will definitely allow us to improve our performance in the long term, although sometimes we need to perform less specific training in order to adapt to a novel stimulus. This is based on the principle of diminishing return, where performance improvement will begin to plateau after a given period of time. For example, if we only perform 1 rep max squats every week, we will initially see a substantial improvement in performance, but after a while, performance will plateau. This length of time to become stale could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months, depending on the individual's level of advancement. Therefore, in order to continue progressing, we need to introduce a novel stimulus. Continuing from the previous example, we may perform squats for sets of 4 reps for a certain period of time before going back to performing 1 rep maxes. This way, the body can adapt to performing sets of 4, and then these performance improvements can positively transfer to the 1 rep max. If we continue to delve into this idea of specificity and diminishing return, we end up with the concept of periodization. Periodization essentially refers to the sequencing of training in an order to continue progressing and to perform the most specific training at the time we need to peak. So the further away we are from when we need to peak, the more general training can be. And the closer to when we need to peak, the more specific training should be. This way, we can provide a novel stimulus to avoid staleness further from our peak, and then perform specific training to realize our built-up potential closer to our peak. And this is the fundamental concept of how to peak for optimal performance. We need to structure our year so that we are performing well at the right time. Periodizing our training well will account for the majority of performance variation at any given time. Although there are other strategies which can also help improve performance when it counts. So if we zoom in from a macro scale to a micro scale, manipulating training variables in the short term can also help us achieve peak performance when we want to. When performing overloading training, not only do we receive a stimulus for adaptation, but we also induce fatigue. And this fatigue can mask our physical abilities. Optimal performance is achieved when fatigue is low and fitness is high. Fatigue accumulates and diminishes quickly relative to fitness, which takes longer to increase, but also diminishes slower. So fitness is more of a permanent quality, while fatigue is only a temporary side effect of training. When we apply progressive overloading training over a period of weeks, we will improve our fitness, but fatigue also accumulates. So although we have improved our fitness, our performance may not fully reveal this. It is not until the fatigue is dropped that we can express our full potential. We drop fatigue by reducing training load for a short period of time. Although, if we drop our load too much or for too long, we will also lose fitness. So there is a fine balance between fitness and fatigue that needs to be adjusted to reach peak performance. This phenomenon of reducing training load is called a taper. Tapering is a strategy that can be used immediately prior to competition in order to enhance performance. It is unlikely that a taper will yield large improvements in performance, but between 1 and 5% improvement can be expected if implemented correctly. Although this isn't a drastic improvement, it may be enough to give an athlete the edge over their competitors. So what is the best way to implement a taper? The taper can be manipulated by the duration, the volume, and intensity. It is clear from both the research and anecdotal evidence that reducing volume while maintaining high intensity are the primary components of a successful taper. The question then becomes, exactly how much does volume need to be reduced by, and how long should volume be reduced for? Research suggests that a 30 to 60% reduction in volume is ideal for performance to be retained and fatigue to be decayed. Less experienced athletes may benefit from maintaining slightly higher training volumes, while more experienced athletes may need larger reductions in volume. Experimentation should be used to find the ideal taper volume for the individual. There is mixed evidence with regards to the exact length of a taper. Tapering from a range of 4 days up to 3 weeks have all been shown to work well, although the taper length should follow the same principle as the taper volume. That is, more experienced athletes may require a longer taper, while less experienced athletes may require a shorter taper. The pattern of the taper can also be manipulated. We can implement an exponential taper, which has a more gradual decrease in volume, or a step taper, which has more of a sudden decrease in volume. Both tapering strategies will work, and the difference between the two is unlikely to affect performance to any measurable degree. So whichever strategy is preferred by the athlete or coach should be implemented. Here are some examples of how a taper may look from a practical standpoint. In this first example, we have an experienced male shot put athlete who may need 2 weeks of a taper to perform at their best. He may need a longer taper as his foundational capacity is very high and the fatigue induced from high-level training needs a longer time to decay. He has implemented an exponential taper with gradually reducing volume over the 2 weeks, while the intensity stays very high in order to maintain specific performance adaptations. In this second example, we have a novice female sprint cyclist who is implementing a 5-day taper. Her taper may be shorter as she doesn't have a large foundational capacity, and her training may not be intense enough to actually require substantial reductions in fatigue. She has used a step taper where the volume has been reduced equally for the entire 5 days, and once again, intensity remains high to maintain specific performance. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something out of this video. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already.